Today I want to talk about the question of whether true love exists. And this could apply to a romantic relationship, of course. That's the main place where that would apply. But it could also apply to jobs. It could apply to hobbies. It can apply to your standard of quality of life. It can apply to all the different aspects of life which we would want to love, but maybe the reality is more often than not, we really just feel like we have settled for something. And we live in a time which is abundant with options and opportunities, and yet the messaging we're given in society tends to be that you have to just settle for what you can get, that it is what it is. There's a lot of people who settle into unhappy marriages, or maybe a marriage that's more of a marriage of convenience than one of true romance. And then there's those stories like Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan and Sleepless in Seattle, or You've Got Mail, or any number of rom-coms out there where there's this happily ever after, love at first sight kind of a thing. And we're convinced that that doesn't really exist. That you have to live your life basically just settling for okay, because mountaintop experiences just are a thing of fairy tales. And the interesting thing in my mind here is that on one hand, true love, anything that you really love, is not going to be absolutely perfect, because you're not absolutely perfect. And we tend to think that true love, this fairy tale romance, if you will, is also synonymous with sunshine and rainbows and everything being picture perfect all the time. And that's not true. What I have found is that you can absolutely adore something. It can inspire you. It can make you want to be the best version of yourself. It can be a person. It can be an experience. It could even be a video game. It could be a lot of different things in life. It could be a job or service that you engage in with the community. And it's not going to be perfect all the time. It's not going to be without anything you could criticize. And yet it's also going to be something that you never regret, something that you find filling you with a sense of wonder and joy the first minute, and also years down the road. Life can be a magical experience. And you'll know it when you see it. It's unrecognizable if you're trying to forecast what it's going to look like. But it's undebatable when you see it for real. Now, maybe we don't get those mountaintop experiences that we want. Maybe we go through life and we don't find that one true love. It's possible. But does that mean that these things don't exist? And the answer is no, of course they exist. There's people who absolutely adore each other, who have been in love since the time they were little kids in school, and now they're in their 80s and they still love each other just as much as they did the first day, and it never wore off. There are those stories. There's people who live their whole life doing things that they love, having experiences that inspire them, living a life filled with joy that's positive and uplifting and free from demons and darkness. And the people who don't have that experience want to just say, well, that experience doesn't exist. There is no such thing. And I think it's important to understand that there is such a thing. It is real. And even if it's not yours right now, it could be under the right circumstances. But it won't be if you always settle for something that's not really all that great, instead of learning to be comfortable with patience. And one of the strange oxymorons of life is that when you are desperate for something, you usually don't get it. But when you let it go and you actually work through your own baggage and get to the point where you can say, okay, you know, I'm okay if I don't get my way. I'm happy with my life the way it is. Well, then the blessings that you kind of have surrendered come to you. It's like that wild animal, a deer that lives in your neighborhood or a squirrel or something, and if you walk up to it and you chase it, it's going to run away. But when you just enjoy a morning sitting on a bench in the park, then maybe that creature just comes up to you. You didn't chase it. You didn't even feel like you needed it to be part of your life. And yet, by letting it go, you created an environment that was more conducive to gaining its trust. And it also goes back to a quote I love that Ayn Rand wrote in her books. You can't, she said, say I love you without first learning to say the I. And that's super true. If you can't find peace, find joy in your own life, you can't gain joy from sharing it with others. You have to start by working on yourself, and then other people can add to that experience. Other things can add to that experience. Maybe it's kind of like if I said I have a really good life. Well, it's up to me to have a good life. It's the external factors maybe that make it really good. That adjective we can find. But the primary article we have to be. You have to learn how to be good first before you can reap good from sharing your experience. Because good things lead to good things. And that's where trying less can sometimes lead to more. So have a little bit less firm grasp on life. Learn to enjoy life as it is and say, okay, I'm going to surrender a little bit to the universe and let it choose my path. I'll be available when opportunities arise, but I'm not going to chase them to the point where they disrupt my sense of joy. But I'm also going to accept that life is meant to be lived on the mountaintop. is not meant to be settled for. And I would rather just have amazing stories in my mind and in my imagination and live my life alone for myself than to settle for something that's devoid of joy because I've reached the conclusion that hope is fiction. Always believe that life is filled with good things and with loveliness that's just waiting to be discovered. And don't chase that loveliness. Just be open to buying it whenever it becomes available. Finally, remember, life has loveliness to sell. So when you can, buy it and never count the cost. Till next time, thank you for watching.